folks, how you doing? How you feeling? Welcome to Search and Report. I'm your host, True Fernie, and today I have a very special guest, someone I look up to, someone I really do appreciate all the work that they do online in the interwebs and in the gaming space. AJ McRae from Watch Redirect.
Redirect, but the URLs is
Redirect.
Yes. Yeah. It's because redirect is a hard name to get. Anyway, hello, hi, I am AJ. What's up?
What's going on? It's been a while. I was looking through most of my content because I've been kind of like splitting a lot of my attention right now between gaming and sneaker content, and it's a headache, man. I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I'm doing it, but it is what it is. And I saw that the last time we recorded something was when Legends Arceus dropped. And that was a fun conversation, man. That is still one of my favorite episodes on Search and Report. Nice. But yeah, I wanted to bring you on because there are some things. Well, first and foremost, I start these by, first of all, talking about what I have been playing, but I want to give you first the floor because I know you've been doing Soul Link, which is an interesting concept.
Yes.
It's not something that I've really quite understood, to be honest, but what have you been playing?
So I mean, I guess I can talk about that because it's like there's the Soul Link concept, and that's like a pre-existing thing where it's like you and one other person basically do a Nuzlocke, and everything that one person does, the other person has to do too. So like if I were to lose a Pokemon, the person that I'm linked to has to lose the Pokemon that we caught on the same route. Or same thing if it gets boxed. Same thing if it's like even just like in the party for a gym or whatever. Level caps are linked, so if you don't want to pass the level cap, you need the box of Pokemon for that, stuff like that. But the Soul Link that we're doing specifically is a twist on that. Because in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, they have the Union Circle feature where 4 people can all be in the same world. So we basically just doubled that, where it's like a Soul Link, and we're linked together for 2 people, but then each pair is competing to like win ultimately. Where everything's worth points. It's like after every checkpoint, so like clearing a gym or clearing a Titan or what's the other thing? The Team Star bases. We do rival battles, and the person that wins the rival battle, if you win 3 in a row, you get a bonus. The person that loses the rival battle, every time you spin a wheel and you have to do something. So like either your Pokemon, one of your pairs has to be locked to a lower level cap, or you have to skip an encounter until your next gym, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
It's been going good so far. I'm surprised we haven't nobody has wiped. I'm shocked.
Oh yeah, I don't recall if there is like a certain part of Scarlet and Violet where it's like a lot of people have issues with. I'm sure there's a specific gym trainer.
In my experience, because I did a solo Nuzlocke.
Yeah.
Just Nuzlocks in general, like the beginning of the game tends to be the hardest. Like, and I don't mean like the beginning in terms of like the first gym or whatever, but like usually like with Sword and Shield, my pain point was the 3rd gym, and it was very similar for Scarlet and Violet. It was like we always either wiped right before the 3rd gym or at the 2nd gym.
Yeah.
And every time that I've cleared a Nuzlocke, I've never even come close to wiping after that.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing now that that's largely because like especially since there's like more like sweaty rules with the like multi battles that we're doing and stuff like that. It's just because you don't have good Pokemon until like half of the way through the game. So it's like But once you get good Pokemon, it's a breeze.
Yeah, and remind me, because I have not touched Scarlet and Violet since I beat the first part of the DLC, so it's been a minute. But if I'm not mistaken, isn't Scarlet and Violet like level? What's it called? You know how they do it in certain games where it's designed where regardless of what, especially like open world, like they design it in a way where if you're level 10, if most of your Pokemon are level 10, it doesn't matter what trainer you go and fight, they're all going to be like around the same. It's not like that, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so there's like a preset route, the best route to take, right? Yeah.
There's there's a correct way to go.
Yeah.
Like the game doesn't stop you. You can go wherever you want.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have a harder time if you do that.
Yeah.
Or an easier time, depends. When I did my first playthrough, I didn't look at anything, so I just went where I went.
Yeah.
And I think like the last gym I did was like the 4th gym. So
yeah, no, I don't remember how I did it the first time. I think I just did it in a circle. I just went around the whole map. But yeah, no, that whole Soul Link, it's really engaging.
It's been fun.
But yeah, as far as me, what I've been playing Helldivers 2, baby, and that is first and foremost a game that I bought on a whim. I wasn't convinced about it, and this is something I always do, and I should really stop doing it. I'm very impulsive when it comes to my purchases.
Same.
And Helldivers 2 is one of them, but I've been slowly and surely kind of finding the attractiveness to that game. It's honestly, it's just a co-op. It's like a mission-based co-op online multiplayer. Playing it alone is terrible. It's one of the worst games ever if you play it alone. It's one of the best games ever if you play with 2 or more people. So I've kind of been enjoying that, just leveling up. It's a very grindy game, and it's kind of like something to do while you catch up with friends, to be honest. It's not like, it can get challenging, but it's not something that it requires all of my attention while I'm playing it, to be honest. Very mission heavy, mission based. Honestly, a little bit like, no, I was gonna say something really like, no, God, thank you. I stopped myself. It's just a good game, to be honest. Have you played it? I saw Trev bought it, and he was like,
he was very upset. He was very upset because it is weird. It's like people have this weird double standard with online in particular, where it's like, for whatever reason, they have this revisionist history that every other platform has flawless online connectivity. Games don't lag. Games don't disconnect. You don't have problems connecting in the first place. But here we are with this game, and I don't know if they've resolved it, but a lot of people haven't even been able to like consistently sign on to the game.
Yeah, they fixed that like, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks after the game's release. Now they've increased the server capacity, but yeah, that was one of the biggest concerns with that game. I think the second time I ever tried to play it, it took like 20 minutes to get into the actual game. Not just into the game, but to the menu. It won't even let you like play around in the menu or do anything. It's just a loading screen.
That's crazy.
For 20 minutes. And I was like, all right, well, I got nothing to do. I'm just going to wait here.
Well, I'm glad it works now.
Waste my time. It works now. Yeah, it works now. But they've added a few things, I think today or yesterday, where it's like, now there's actual world hazards. There's meteorites falling while you're playing these missions, volcanoes, all this sort of stuff. I haven't played it since the update because work has been kicking my ass. But yeah, that's especially mostly what I've been playing. It's most of that. I do need to get back to Scarlet and Violet and play the second part of the DLC because I never finished it. I got
part two is the one. It's the same thing with Sword and Shield, where the Sword and Shield DLC, the first DLC was like okay, and then the second one was like, that like added another like 100+ hours to a lot of people I know's playtime.
Yeah, it's pretty chunky. Awesome, man. Well, how about we go into the first news item I want to say is more of an announcement, but we finally got a new Pokemon entry, mainline entry announced in last week's Pokemon Presents. What are your thoughts? I mean, again, really rusty, but if you didn't know by now, what are you doing? But there is going to be a mainline Pokemon in 2025. It was announced last week in the Pokemon Presents. It's I want to say another entry into the Pokemon Legends. Would you call it a spin-off? Would you call it a mainline game?
I don't know what it is. Like it's a series now, and
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people like willed that into existence because
Mhm.
when Legends Arceus came out, and they're like, we really like this. I can't wait for the next one. The same way that they did with Let's Go. Like we've been like, Let's Go Johto has been imminent since Let's Go
Oh
Pikachu and
God.
Eevee came out, and it's like, when did they ever say this was a series? It's like I was pretty sure that this was my job to talk about this stuff, and I never heard that.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, this happened for a long time. It was rumored that it was going to be Legends Kyurem.
Yeah.
They thought it was going to be a Unova remake, but it is not.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to expect for this game because we didn't see anything. It's just they just showed us not even like a target render sort of situation.
No.
You know, like we just got this computer animated like, hey man, it's on a blueprint.
Yeah.
This is a redevelopment plan. So like,
Yeah. So the actual Pokemon page for this game says it's it describes it as a new adventure awaits within Lumio City, where an urban redevelopment plan is underway to shape the city into a place that belongs to both people and Pokemon. So I know there's a lot of theories. Legends Arceus was based in the past. People are saying that this might be based in the future, but at the same time, I kind of see what I see the other side of the coin. People saying that, urban redevelopment, does this mean they're going from kind of like the 1700s into like the industrial?
There's a lot of rumors that it's going to be around the same time frame.
Oh, really? Okay.
In like the 1830s. Is what a lot of people are saying about this because that's around the time that like Paris became a more like modernized city.
Yeah.
So that's what a lot of the rumors are speaking to right now.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that not necessarily it doesn't need to be in the future, but I think a lot of what I didn't like about Legends Arceus is like not necessarily like owed to the fact that it's in the past, but they excuse the things that Arceus has wrong with the fact that it's in the past. It's like the fact that there are barely any trainer battles is because the concept of Pokemon training is new.
Yeah.
Most of the people in the town are scared of Pokemon, so of course there's not a lot of trainer battles. The fact that you can get ganged up on in these massive horde battles that are poorly balanced.
Mm-hmm.
You just became a trainer. Your trainer's like scared of Pokemon, kinda. You can't control more than one Pokemon at a time. You crazy? You know, like there's a lot of stuff like that. That I hope they rectify, and I don't think they will unless they have a reason like that to do it, where it's like, okay, training Pokemon's more common here for whatever reason, so there are trainer battles and there's multiplayer now and like that sort of thing. But TBD, we'll see.
Yeah, I hope it's I mean, I see that complaint about Pokemon Legends where you're kind of like, you're sort of in a way handicapping the whole idea behind a Pokemon game. People not knowing what Pokemon battles are, like you say, people are afraid of Pokemon, etc., etc. I would hope, at least my and again, this is me setting up myself for disappointment, but I hope that they at least understood that main complaint that people had for Legends. And at least seeing the Pokemon in the trailer represented in some way, interacting with the world inside the actual city, kind of gets rid of that notion that, oh no, it's going to be just like Legends Arceus, everybody's afraid of what Pokemon are.
That's something that gave me hope looking at the trailer, because it did, like, there was like straight up trainer battles in the trailer, or a trainer battle at least. So I don't know if that's what it, because something that could be the situation that wouldn't be ideal to me, but I would be okay with, is if we start in the past and you work towards the future. Where like at the end of the game, it's like, oh, okay, now there are the trainer battles and you can like play with your friends and like do all that sort of stuff. It would be annoying to have to play a 30-40 hour long game before you can play experience the whole thing of what Pokemon has been for the past 30 years. Yeah, damn near. But it's better than never being able to do it like in Arceus.
Yeah, it's true. And yeah, Jesus, that was a loud ass thunder. Yeah, and I mean, I do hope that, and also just the fact that Pokemon is skipping this year, kind of, for with a mainline entry, gives me hope that it is gonna be at least a better design game in that way. I hope, again, this is, me being very skeptical.
My bigger hope is that Game Freak isn't the primary person working on or the primary studio working on this game.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the Legends games, unless this is a better game significantly, are throwaway games. Nobody's still playing Legends Arceus. No. Like, you played it once and then never played it again. I'm still playing Sword and Shield. You know, like if there's anybody that's going to go back to a Pokemon game, it's me, and I have no desire at all to ever play Arceus again.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that if that's what this is, that it's not something that the main studio is working on, because I don't want it to hamper the actual next main big thing. Because I do think, like, something that isn't recognized in the discourse of Pokemon is, like, not only do we have a global pandemic, but this is already a studio that can barely manage the mainline games that we get from year to year. They worked on 3 games during the pandemic at the same time.
Yep. Yeah, they were spread thin.
Of course they were going to be, of course they were going to be, well, technically 4, because they were working on Sword and Shield while they were working on Arceus and Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I just want them to, I want them to pull a Rockstar and do nothing but work on, I want all hands on deck on Pokemon, the main series. I want one Pokemon game per generation, and then we do the remakes and all that other stuff as expansions within that one main game.
Yeah. I can agree with that. Even if it means, not introducing a new generation, not introducing new Pokemon, I'm all for that. I think 1,000 Pokemon is more than enough to really explore your catalog and introduce better games, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we've gotten anything else since that announcement, just theories on the internet. I did find the name really weird. At first I thought it was, I mean, obviously I thought it was just a Z, but then they added the A, but at first I thought it was a alpha symbol.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
And I was like, does this mean that, from alpha to omega, that whole idea of working in between both the past and the future, what exactly is it, because also
probably playing into the AZ plot line and X and Y,
and that's something I heard
big
about.
Big guy with the Flabébé.
Yeah, that's something I heard about. I never beat X and Y. So can you explain what that specific theory is?
So there's this old ass guy named AZ, and he was alive during the Great Pokemon War.
Okay.
And he has his whole thing was that he wanted to find his friend Flabébé. I don't know how he lived that long. They never went further into it because we didn't get the 3rd game. And that's what I think a lot of people think that this is going to end up being, even though I don't know the time. Granted, we don't know what time frame X and Y takes place in terms of the year. So it could be that far back, and it's just Pokemon's further in the future than we thought it was. But if it is during the 1830s, that doesn't really line up. Yeah. As far as us seeing firsthand that time frame of when AZ was all that stuff was happening during the Great Pokemon War and whatnot.
Well, if Pokemon is based on our world at all, it's definitely based in a very distant future because they got universal healthcare. So
true. Yeah. I mean, they are. It's also Japan.
Yeah, I guess.
And I don't know if they have universal healthcare. At least for Pokemon, they do. But I don't know if humans are getting free healthcare.
Now that I think about it, is there ever a hospital for humans in Pokemon games?
Not that I've seen. Not in the games for sure.
Yeah. There definitely is in the anime. I remember that specific episode with the doctor. Yeah, well, I mean, this also this whole announcement also reignited, and I know you hate these conversations, but I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna have to do it.
Mhm.
Reignited the whole conversation around the next iteration of the Switch solely because they said
The simultaneously on the Nintendo Switch.
on the Nintendo Switch systems, this is gonna be released on
Mhm.
on the Nintendo Switch or the what exactly did it say?
I think they did say Nintendo Switch systems. They said
Yeah.
simultaneously in 2025 on the Nintendo Switch systems, which
Yes.
is like that could mean it could mean Switch 2 or whatever the fuck they want to call it. Am I allowed to say fuck on this
Yeah,
show?
yeah, you can say yeah.
Okay. Um, it could mean that for sure.
Yeah.
Does it? Definitely, absolutely not, because we already have Nintendo Switch systems.
Yeah.
The OLED model is the Nintendo Switch system. The Switch Lite is a Nintendo Switch system, and the OG Switch is a Nintendo Switch system.
That's true.
And they've been calling it the Nintendo Switch family since Switch Lite came out.
Yeah.
And even before Nintendo Switch was a thing, they were referring to NX as the NX family. So it's like it's like
it's
people just be reaching.
Yeah, and it's also vague, you know, for a reason. They understand people are gonna have these conversations.
Right.
Yeah, all in all, I mean, I am very excited. I am notoriously the type of Pokemon fan that kind of dropped after, I want to say, like, I stopped playing Pokemon games for a long ass time. I beat Ruby, and then after that generation, I didn't come back till X and Y. So a lot of the Pokemon stuff that kind of, you know, was missing for me from the mainline games, I don't want to say I found with Legends. I think Legends was just like a very nice refresher to what we've been playing for so long. But at the same time, it still fell short. So I don't know. After my first playthrough, I'm the type of person who also falls in love with a game's art style, with a game's music, all that sort of stuff. Of course, gameplay mechanic is very important, but at the same time, one of my favorite games is Majora's Mask, and that game plays pretty badly. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm that type of person. I'm focused on like the art, music, all that sort of stuff. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm excited for Pokemon Legends, to be honest. But I'm not gonna say that, you know, the shortcomings of Legends Arceus weren't very notable.
For me, it's like I want everything. That's where I'm at. Like I never fell off of Pokemon. So I saw the fact that they evolved a lot. Like from game to game, there's a lot of improvements that they made. And Scarlet and Violet, despite their technical flaws, are the best Pokemon games, full stop. And I have no hesitation in saying that. I think Legends Arceus, on a gameplay level from minute to minute, and it's really just boiled down to the catching mechanic, and that's pretty much it. I think they're more fun.
Yeah.
I think an action RPG is where I would prefer to experience Pokemon. But what it lacks is just too much for me to be able to like give it the flowers that I think a lot of people are trying to give it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't know, if you go to a restaurant and all you care about at that restaurant is the appetizers, it's crazy to go to somebody that likes the same kind of food and be like, that restaurant's way better than the restaurant you like.
Yeah.
They have this appetizer I like a lot. It's like, bro, there's a whole menu that they're terrible at, and you're giving them flowers because of one appetizer. That's nuts. So that's where I'm at. It's like I get it. I get not everybody plays Pokemon for the same. And I'm literally working on a video talking about exactly this right now. I get that not everybody plays Pokemon to the same extent that people that have been Pokemon fans this entire time, like hardcore Pokemon fans, do in the same way. But it's weird to like to act like they should be happy about getting less because you and I mean you generally, you usually choose to experience less. You know what I mean?
I see
Like,
what you're saying.
just because like people play through the campaign and they spend their little 30 hours and they're like, all right, that was great.
Yeah.
Everybody else should then not have the option to be like, okay, well, I want a team build and I want a shiny hunt and I want to, I want to play the game with my friends and I want to do raids and it's just crazy to me for people to have that dichotomy.
Yeah. I mean, people, like you say, they experience these games very differently, and I feel the more games evolve in general, I feel the more games evolve, the more that a lot, and not just, I'm not saying like developers, but just in general, the industry is trying to check off all these marks and try and make like a game for everyone. And it's almost impossible to do it. And I mean, I'm very, very, I'm what do you call it? I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of being that sort of person where like, oh, I used to be on the whole that bandwagon train where if a game is not open world, it's not really a great game. It's not the best game in the year. But I started to understand and see like, you know what? Not everything should fit in the same category. Not everything should fit or check off all the same boxes. And so I definitely understand what you're trying to say. And I see that main I don't even know what to call it, like critique of Legends. So yeah,
for me it's like I agree with that, and this is literally something I talk about in the video again. I agree with the sentiment that not every game needs to be this massive open world thing, but some games do. And I would say that a game like Pokemon that established itself in the way that it did, where it's doing all of these from the jump, it's doing all these things that are like catering to multiple types of fans. And it became a very, very, very the most successful brand in the world. Doing that, it shouldn't go backwards. You know what I mean? And the only reason why Pokemon can't feasibly do it now is because it's shackled to Game Freak. Like, I will be the first person to say that it is unfair to expect the type of game that Pokemon should be out of the studio that Game Freak is right now. That is unfair. But Pokemon is a bigger property than Game Freak.
Definitely.
Doesn't have to be made by Game Freak and only Game Freak. I think Game Freak still plays a part. Like, I think a lot of what's good about Pokemon is because of them. But I don't think that them alone is enough anymore. I think that if anything, they should play more of a like advisory role than working on the nuts and bolts. I think give this game to Bandai Namco. Develop it like it's Smash Brothers. Game Freak is the Sakurai. They say, yo, balance this like that. And Bandai Namco's like, okay, bet, we'll do that. That's the best case scenario for Pokemon, I think.
I agree with that. And it's gotta suck to be Game Freak. It's gotta suck to try and like still hold on to, what you created. You were a huge part of that creation of that specific thing, but I don't know. I feel Nintendo just needs to buy out Pokemon fully and like apply that same mentality.
Honestly, I don't even think Game Freak is like the barrier that people think they are. I don't think Game Freak is against evolving. I genuinely do not think that. I think that, especially as somebody that's been talking about this for a living for almost 10 years now and a few, I've watched the fan base shift from being like, I don't want random encounters. I want Pokemon to be this turn-based JRPG that I've been playing for the past 20 years. And now everybody woke up and they're like, oh, wait, it's on a 1080p console. We got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that game's pretty cool. Maybe Pokemon should modernize, and you can't turn on a dime. You can't do that. Like, that sort of stuff takes time. These studios that work on the games that people look at, like Breath of the Wild and all this other type of stuff, they work towards that. Game Freak has been making sub 480i games for the past 20 years. They're not going to to go from making Pokemon Sun and Moon to making Breath of the Wild in one generation. That it does not work like that.
Yeah.
No studio has ever in the history of video games made a jump that big.
Yeah.
And to expect Game Freak to be the one to do it is insane, because they have never been great game developers ever. They have never made a technically impressive video game.
Yeah.
Ever. I think that they want to grow. They definitely do, but they're just not good enough to facilitate it on their own.
Yeah. They were never given the opportunity to go through those growing pains, I feel like. And it's I don't want to say it's catching up to them, because I just
it is in a big way, which is good. I think it's good. I think that people are unreasonable with the way that the way that it materializes, but it's painfully obvious that people want Pokemon to be more.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, because before it wasn't. Before, it was like this divided thing of like some people being like, nope, I just want Pokemon Yellow on my Nintendo Switch, and that's all I want it to be. You know, I want it to be the same thing as it was on my Game Boy. And then you have part of the fan base that's like, I want it to be a little better than that. And you have people like me, and I'm like, blow all of this shit up. Just keep the spirit of it. You know, like Al Numo is right. Kill all these conventions and stuff like that. Give us the Breath of the Wild of Pokemon. So it's like it's hard to figure out, like, okay, who's right, you know, from a Game Freak perspective, who's correct in this. I think Arceus kind of proves that they should be listening to me.
I mean, hey man, you got some good ideas, so why not? I mean, you basically already spilled the beans on what your next video is going to be about. You want to? I mean, I'm not going to say.
I'm working on it.
Right now.
It's here. It'll be up within the next 24 hours. So
gotcha.
Sooner than that, for hopefully, if I can finish editing it for supporters. But
yeah, cool.
That's the plan.
Okay, cool. Anything else you want to talk about? I mean, there's not much else to talk about, but as far as
you mean
as Pokemon
like in general or Pokemon? I think Pokemon ZA were good.
Yeah,
we don't know anything. This game barely exists as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, I'm trying to get out of my interview brain, because that's what I do for a living. So I'm always like, you got any questions for me? So yeah, let's go straight into the next news topic so we can get you back to working on your next video. This was something that for me was expected. I'm just surprised that the people behind it were dumb enough to start charging people for it, which is how they got caught. But Nintendo won a 2.4 million lawsuit.
Well, they didn't win.
They didn't win. They settled. Yes.
Yeah.
Against Yuzu. If y'all didn't know, anybody who's listening, Yuzu are a emulator for Switch specifically. They're an open source emulator. They started open source, but they, in a way, got a little too eager with the success of Yuzu. But let me go through this real quick and give a little bit of a rundown as to what happened. This article is from Polygon. It says, makers of Nintendo Switch emulator Yuzu now owe Nintendo $2.4 million after reaching a settlement following a lawsuit over the open source emulator. Both Nintendo and Tropic Haze, the company behind Yuzu, filed for a final judgment and permanent injunction on Monday, after Nintendo accused the Yuzu makers of copyright infringement, circumvention of Nintendo Switch protections, and selling those circumvention technologies as Yuzu, amongst other things. It's this sort of thing is always very interesting to me, mostly because I never understand how people get to that point where you're like, okay, we haven't got caught, let's make it easy for them to get caught. It's like that Drewski meme where people like really document their crimes and then just post it on the internet, and then it makes it easier for people to catch them. I feel Yuzu kind of like they design their own demise.
I think people get emboldened by the sentiment behind emulation, because a lot of the community that's like very bullish about emulation seems to think that emulation is legal.
Yeah.
And it's kind of not,
No.
like there's not really anything that backs up it being okay.
Yeah.
There's legal precedent that suggests that parts of it are okay, but part of it's not enough to argue that all of it is okay. Like there's legal protections like around things like emulators.
Yeah.
But the rest of that is people coming to conclusions because they're like, well, obviously if emulators are legal, emulation has to be correct.
Yeah.
Like obviously if it's legal to like back up your ROMs, it has to be legal to play them, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not how this works. Like there's legal protections for preserving your game.
Yeah.
Preservation, you can back up the ROM that you own. There's nothing that says you can then play it on your PC or none of that stuff has ever been said. It's just a conclusion that people are coming to.
Yeah.
So you see that Game of Telephone gets people that are working with Yuzu and like in that community and stuff like that, and they're like, it's legal.
Yeah.
And they start to get too big for their britches and then fly too close to the sun.
Yeah. And like you said, it's a game of telephone. People, hey, nobody's ever told me otherwise, so it is what it is. But I was trying to come up with an analogy to like really put what the issue is behind emulation, but it's kind of like, yeah, you own your house, but you can't grow weed, in your backyard,
like you can't, yeah.
It's that sort of thing. It's like,
well, you might be able to depending on where you live, but
yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, Texas, like, you definitely can't here, but
yeah. True.
So,
yeah. I mean, that's basically what it is. It's like, and the thing about that is, do we own our games? Do we? Because the end user agreement suggests no.
Yeah.
It suggests that we do not own our games. That's again another conclusion that people came to, because you could like in the like retro era and stuff like that, you could like take your cartridge and I don't want to play this game anymore, so I'm going to give it to somebody or even sell it or I'll rent it out. Like that's the sort of thing that you could do. But like there was like the end user agreement actually said you couldn't, and now where if you even look at like DVDs, right? Like I bought the Pokemon, the first 3 movies on Blu-ray, and I can't stream it, like even with the physical media, because they have legal protections that say no. Like my Xbox doesn't allow me to play the movie if it detects that I am capturing the feed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the only thing that allowed for us to be able to do stuff like that is them not having the technology to stop us.
Yeah.
So until something happens that says like in stone, like you are able to do whatever you want with this because you own this, that's not true. It just is an assumption because people feel like it should be the case.
Yeah.
I agree with them. I think you should be able to do certain things with the thing that you own. But when we start arguing it from a legal standpoint, and like your argument is like, well, the law says, and the law doesn't support your argument, you're making the wrong argument. Like we need to start arguing morality and not legality, because I tell people all the time, I promise you, Nintendo knows the law better than you do.
Oh yeah.
They are a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They are the most cash-rich company in Japan by a lot.
Yeah.
They know the law. I promise you. So it's not even just a thing about like, oh, they have more money than you do. It's just like they have people that like they have on staff that is their whole job to know what is right and what is wrong legally and what they can get away with and what you can't.
Yeah.
So the mission isn't to like shake our fists at them. It's to shake our fists at the law.
Yeah.
So like, but
it's it's these things that will never not. I don't think there's ever going to be a clean path or clean way to what people are trying to achieve through emulation. Because I mean, at the same time, like, I want to say 50-60% of why people emulate are for the wrong reasons. It's just, it's really hard to paint it behind a paintbrush of, oh, we're trying to preserve games, oh, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that. It's just, it's a very tough situation. It's something that I won't ever have a clear opinion on, because it's just very gray. But it's
my opinion personally is, like, me personally, do I have a problem personally with another person emulating a video game? No, I don't care. It's not my game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not hurting me. The thing that I have a problem with is the dishonesty. Like, you know, like people are so dishonest with their intent. It's like, I would respect people way more if they're like, yo, fuck that multi-billion-dollar corporation. I want to play this game, so I'm going to play this game.
So I'm gonna
But
steal.
what people do, I'll steal the game, period. But what people do is like, it's not stealing, it's moral, because they're a billion-dollar corporation, and technically emulation's not illegal, it's preservation.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure that future generations get to experience you don't give a fuck about that. You just want to play Pokemon Emerald on your PC so you can do a randomizer, and, you know, like, that's what people want. And, like, be honest about that. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not wrong, it's not wrong.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I think people know that it is wrong.
Yeah.
Or at least legally, it's not supported that it's right.
Yeah.
So they try to, like, move it into an area where it feels like it can be.
Yeah. And for this specific case, you know, Yuzu, the reason that it kind of, the catalyst as to why they finally got persecuted is because, first of all, Yuzu isn't actually a method for you to get ROMs, for you to download anything. It's just an emulator. But the reason why Nintendo targeted is because they were one of the few emulators where people were able to play Tears of the Kingdom illegally, which kind of, like, when it got leaked, which kind of, like, really started to, like, turn some wheels in my head. And I'm like, would this have been something, would this have been an issue if the game never leaked? And regardless of them actually having a Patreon up and having a paywall to access certain parts, or I think they have certain development tools that were behind a paywall. If that wasn't the case, do you think Yuzu would have gotten taken down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think with so the problem is, like, Yuzu, like, or at least, like, the easier thing to, because at the end of the day, it's like legal arguments are like straw men, you know. There's a lot that's wrong with their side of it legally anyway. But the easiest thing to go after for them was the cryptographic keys, which is, it's like a way to get around the DRM. They gave people ways to circumvent Nintendo's DRM, and that's why they were able to play Tears of the Kingdom. And it's not just for Tears of the Kingdom, it's for every game.
Any game.
They have support. That's why a lot of the time, like, they'll update them, like, we have support for this game and this game and this game. That's part of it. Some of it is, like, some games run wonky on the emulators and the way that they work, so they have to, like, adjust it and do stuff like that. But another part is because they have to be able to circumvent the DRM for the specific games.
Gotcha.
That did them in. That. Yeah, but there's a lot of, and it's the same thing that happened with when Dolphin was trying to put put Dolphin on Steam.
Yeah.
That is what did them in there too. It's because they had keys for Wii games in the emulator.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's like you caught somebody for stealing a car because they had a kilo of cocaine in the back. You know,
yeah.
stealing the car is still wrong, but they caught you because you had a kilo of cocaine.
Yeah. That's a great analogy.
So
yeah, a lot of drug talk in this podcast. Yeah, I personally, the times that I've downloaded an emulator has always been for me to understand what it is. I've never streamed playing a game. I've never streamed none of that. And Yuzu is one of the only ones where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing when I first tried to like understand how it worked. But it's just because Yuzu could also play, if I'm not mistaken, could also emulate Wii U games. So yeah, it's, I don't know, man. I at this point in time, after 100 and something years of Nintendo history and the way they operate, if you're still trying to do these things, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's you're gonna get caught.
I want somebody to like actually take them to court. That's what I want.
It's gonna be.
I want it to actually go to trial, and I don't think that the person's gonna win.
Oh no.
I think that Nintendo is legally in the right.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, like just from what my day-to-day consists of, I'm tired of having this argument and I want to have something solid to point to. Yeah. I'm tired of people like trying to like argue around the issue with assumptions. I want cold hard facts.
Yeah.
Me personally, would I prefer that we're able to like emulate games and it's fine and doing all that stuff? Sure, because that makes my life easier. I also am consumer.
Yeah.
But as somebody that like I'm gonna be honest about the conversation that I'm having, I also kind of want to have something concrete to point to whether they win or not. You know?
Yeah, just to have an answer as to everybody knows the answer, but it's good to have like, hey, you can point to something. Here it is. Like,
keep other people honest.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they're not going to say it outright.
Yeah.
So if you can point to a concrete fact that this is or isn't okay, it's a lot easier to whittle down the amount of headaches that I have on the day-to-day doing this.
I feel you. Awesome. Well, that's pretty much it. That's all I had to talk about this week on Search and Report. AJ, where can people find you? What are you working on? Where
Go to shop.watchredirect.com. All my social media is linked on there. You can find my membership service. You can find merch like this hat that I'm wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And links to all the YouTubes and all the other good stuff.
Beautiful. Yes. But folks, I've been Fernie. This has been Search and Report. If you like this video, because this is going to be as a YouTube video up on my channel. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you did not like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs down, because believe it or not, every single bit helps. Links to my socials are down below. Please make sure to follow me on Threads. You need to you've been on Threads. I
have a Threads. I just don't be on it. I just don't use it.
It's getting a little weird over there. I'm going to be honest. I feel like every online community gets a little weird. But follow me on Threads, where I spend most of my waking hours talking about gaming, anime, TVs, movies, sneakers, anything and everything that might interest you as my viewer. But folks, please take care of each other, but most importantly, take care of yourself, and don't try and go to court with Nintendo. Peace. Thank you, AJ. Thank you very much, man.
Of course. Bye.